Hey everyone, welcome back to our channel. I'm Yomesh Gupta. Today we are going to talk about group by functionality from Lodash. It is a very commonly used library, and a lot of people use group by functionality for different use cases. Uh, I think we all have used this library, but have you ever wondered what happens under the hood? If we have to implement such function, then how would we do it? So that's what we are going to find out in this video. It's a good question to, test the candidate on their problem solving skills and at the same time not going deep dive into data structure and algorithms. Another way of doing the same thing. Also, it tests the candidate on their thought process, how they approach the problem, are they even thinking about the edge cases, how they're structuring their code, what APIs they're exposing. This question can also, diverge into different concepts like prototypes and, concepts related to arrays that we will, discuss when we code along. So without wasting any time, let's get started. So before starting our implementation, let's see what GroupBy actually does. So we have here GroupBy from Lodash, and we are passing it an array. And second argument is the you can say the property or uh, the value using which we want to group by. So let's see here in the IED that if we use the group by function from Lodash we imported, and right now we pass the mat.floor. So what would be the output of mat.floor? All the elements would be grouped according to that. And let's print the result. So just something to note. So console.print actually doesn't exist. This is a custom web-based IED I've built for my use, and you can also use it. I'll share the link to test out and practice. So that's why it's just a print. It's just like console.log, and if you use console.print and you pass the value, then it will print in the output panel. So if I execute this code, then you will see that the output is 2, and all the elements where the value output from math.floor is related to 2 then goes in this array, and all the elements from 6 goes in this array. So if we check other use cases here, sorry, other input cases, and we execute here, then so here we have an array with 3 elements, 3 strings, and the group by property is length. That means we have to group by length of these strings. So all the elements that have length 3 goes in this array, and the element with length 5 goes in this array. And the third test case would be that we have an array where there are 2 elements, and in each element we have an object with key A. Inside that we have an key B, that is also an object, and inside we have C where the value is 1. Similarly here, C with value 2. Now we have to group by A dot B dot C. That means what is the output of A dot B dot C, we have to group by that. So if we execute this, then we have 1 which is the this, and the element, and inside this array we have that element, and 2 which is this, we have the second element of the original array. So let's start implementation. First let's create some more space, so let's drag this and we'll keep this. Okay, so here we will create a function called group by, and it will take 2 parameters. The first one is the collection and the second one is the property. And inside this function, uh, let's add first check that we have to check that what is the type of this collection. So for now, let's see if we do want this, that result group by, and we pass maybe 1 and length and we console log print and we execute this. So it's an empty object for now. So if we don't have a collection, maybe we can test this out also. If we, null, we comment out this, we execute this, then also an empty object. So if we don't have the collection or type of collection is not equal to object, then we will return an empty object. Okay, cool. Or maybe we can do one thing. We can define an output object and we will return the output directly here, and then later on also we have to return this output. So we'll do this. So now in the to test this out, if we remove this and call our group by and execute this, then we are getting an empty object. And if we make it one and call it, then also we are getting an empty object. That means our code is working. So in different test cases, we see that the property here, the property parameter could be a function like mat.floor. It could be a direct property like length. It could be, a path a.b.c, basically, which is a string. So let's put a check for that. So is property function. So what we are going to do is type of property equal to function. We know that it could be a path also. So is property path, which is type of property equal to string. Now we will have that value. Let's take this example for now. So in this case, what we have to do is that we have to iterate over each element of the array, and we have to call that function math.floor this on each element, and based on what is the output, we have to push it inside the array. So to make things more clear, let's code this value of object dot values, and we are going to pass the collection, which is this. We can use, in this case we can use reduce also or something else, but eventually we might have an object here also. That's why we are using object dot values, which will going to work on object and on arrays both. So let current is equal to, for now it's undefined. If is property function. If it's a function, then current is going to be property. We are going to pass the value in it, and then we will check if current already exists on the output object, then we'll assign it as it is. Else we will assign an empty array and output current dot push will push this value. So let's console log it for now, or in this case console print. We'll have a collection, we will have the value, and we'll see what is the current. Also let's do one thing, that in this case let's also print out the output. So if we execute this now, so in the very first iteration, we have the collection 6.1, 2.4, and so on. Then the value is 6.1 as of now, the first element of the array. We call math.floor in it. In this line number 27, we get the value as 6. The current value is 6, and we push it inside the output object. So in output object, we create a new key 6, and we'll assign an array to it, and inside that array we push 6.1. Similarly, now we call it for 6 2.4, and when we call mat.floor, we get output as 2, which is the variable current. We see that in output object there is no key 2, So we create another array and we push inside that array. Similarly, we have 2.7 in, again we call mat.floor, we get 2. Now we see that we already have the key 2 inside the output object, so we push inside that array. So last we have the 6.8, we call mat.floor, we get 6, we already have the key 6, so inside that array we push this. So our final output in this case, if we remove this and we console log print last year and we execute this, then we have 2, 2.4, 2.7, 6, 6.1, 6.8. Just to verify, let's modify this and have imported from Lodash and call it same. We have the same answer, so it's working. So we covered the case where property is a function. Now let's consider this case where the property is of type string and it's a path, in this particular case a dot b dot c. So what we have to do is that we have to group by the output of this path exactly. So in this case a dot b dot c, which that can have two values, 1 or 2, and we have to group by these values. In this case the collection is an array where there are two objects. So we have already computed the this variable is property path, so we can use it if is property path. And in this case, now what we have to do is that we know that our path, which is going, we going to split it by dot. So in this case, initially we had like this a dot b dot c, we are splitting it, so we have will have a dot b dot c. So we have to iterate over the each item in the path, and we have to check that if this item exists. If yes, then we'll update our current item and check on that. So for, let's create these variable, let I, let key, which would be the path item, and let current item is going to be our entire of value as of now. So this would be, for now this would be a b c 1. So this is the currently the current item which we are getting from line number 23. So if for I equal to 0, I less than path dot length and I plus plus, we are going to iterate over it. So our current key, let's rename it, let's call it current key. So our current key would be path dot I, and our current item would be current item dot current key. So let me explain what's happening here. So what's happening here is that as of now our path is a comma b comma c, and our current key would be uh, path dot 0, which would be a. So and in this case, this value, this would be our current item. So in this current item we will check, do we have a property? If yes, then our current, we update the current item, so current item will now become b dot c 1. So the, and this is what we are going to keep on repeating. So copy this. So in this case now it would be a path dot 1, so which would be b. We copy this. So now our current key becomes b. We will check that this is our current item now. This is our current item. We are going to check, do we have b here? If yes, then our current item will become this object. Then we will copy this again Now we are going to check path, second element of the path, or in this case the third element, and that would be our current key will become C. We are going to check now that in the current item, do we have C? If yes, then we will update the value. So our current item will become 1. Our current item will become 1. And in this case, when our current item will become 1, uh, we can do one thing. After the loop, we can say current is equal to current item. So now let's run this and see for this the case where we have this path as the property and the object with an array with two objects. What is the output? And if we run this for now, see, just like we had that a dot b dot c in this case is 1 and we are grouped by 1. A dot b dot c is 2 and we are grouped by 2. And to verify, if we use and by imported by underscore and we run this, then we have the same output. Yes. Now here is one more case that we have to let, I'll show you in Lodash. So if we have, let's say, a dot b dot a dot c dot b, and we are just reversing the path, and we call it, then we are grouped everything by undefined. That means that we have to strictly follow the path, and whatever is the output of the exact path, we have to group by that. But in the our case, if we run it now, so we are getting an error which is saying cannot read properties of undefined b. So that means here we have to put a check that if in the current item we don't have this key, current key, then current item would be undefined and we have to break this here. We don't have to move it forward. And if we run this now, see, same, we get the same answer as the Lodash. So it's working. So we handle both the cases where our property is a function and it's a string or a path. So if we, test this case where we have an array of three elements and we are checking grouping by the length property. So if we execute it, then it's working. We have three, two elements and five, one element. So due to the code we wrote for the path handling, this is already taken care of. So this is working. If we call this math.floor, then that's also working. If we check our sanity cases, one, then empty object, if we make it null and call it, then also an empty object. And this one we already saw just now. It's by undefined because it's a dot c dot b, and if we call a dot b c now, then it's working. So we covered all the cases where we looked at the case where a property was a path and a property was a function, and we also looked at a case where it was a direct property. So now I have written the small test cases. Basically, what we have seen so far, that here we are using group by from Lodash and we are passing one an array and mat.floor, then again an array with length as the direct property access, then an array of objects where the property is a path, and we console log the output. Similarly here we are using the custom group by which we have written right now and the same test cases, and we print the output. So if we execute this now, then we'll see that both that the output of the both functions, the custom group by and the Lodash group by, is exactly the same. So that means we have covered all the cases. So this brings end to our video. I hope you liked my solution. If you feel that I missed out something or something could be done better, then feel free to share your solution, your opinion, or anything you would like to tell me. Then just please reach out. Also, please do like, share, and subscribe. Like I always say, it motivates us to make more videos and make more frequent videos. Please do share with your friends. I'll share. So the platform I showed you where I code, it's still in beta and it breaks at times. The I've written a custom ID and custom builder behind that. So it's still breaking a bit. I'm fixing it, but do check it out. Do share your views and do share with your friends. So till next time, bye bye. Take care.